Did you know you can generate this 3D anime in Stable Diffusion? And make it say hi? Or make her sit on the bed? Maybe on top of the mountain? Or on the street in some alleyway? Even change her dress? Well, let me show you how. Welcome back to the channel. In this video, I will cover what ControlNet for Stable Diffusion Automatic 1111 is. I will keep this short and simple as possible because things can get complicated. So watch the full video. What exactly is ControlNet? In simple terms, consider an extension over your Stable Diffusion to give you more control on generating images with human expressions, poses, and other subjects like animals and even landscapes. So this interface is Stable Diffusion Automatic 1111. If you aren't familiar with this, I suggest you stop, return to my channel, and look at all the previous Stable Diffusion videos like installation, Civit AI, and upscaling. To understand this, you need to be familiar with this interface. If you are, let's continue. We start with how to install ControlNet. It's a simple extension install. This link you see. Copy it. Go back to Stable Diffusion and install the extension. Apply and restart. You can confirm the installation by going into Extensions. Now open up the first page for the models. You need to download all the files in .pth format and save these models in the following folder of Stable Diffusion. You can also see these YAML files. When you install the extension, they should already be in the models folder of ControlNet. However, if they are not for some reason, you have to manually download them. We also need to download the T2i adapter models. You can download all of them, but I only have two downloaded, which are Style and Color. After downloading all the models, you should close Stable Diffusion from the command prompt and relaunch the web UI. Now you would be able to see the ControlNet option. Click on it to expand, and let me explain the basics before we start playing around with it. For the generation to use your ControlNet, you should click Enable. If it is unticked, the generation happens without ControlNet. I prefer to tick Pixel Perfect and Allow Preview. With the Allow Preview option, you can actually see what the model has drawn before sending it to generate the image. There is a preprocessor and there is a model. It's best to match both of them. For example, in Control Type, select Open Pose. Now the preprocessor will show you only Open Pose options. And the model will automatically be selected as Open Pose. Control Weight is the weight given to ControlNet for the generations. Let's keep that at 1. There is a starting control step and an ending control step. These settings go from 0 to 1 and are calculated in percentages. Say your image generation has a sampling step of 100. Starting control step at 0 means it will start from the beginning. And ending control step at 0.5 will end pushing the ControlNet to your image at 50 steps. That's at 50% of the steps. The remaining 50 steps will be generated without using ControlNet. We then have the preprocessor resolution, and I would keep this at the same value as your input. It makes things simpler. The resize mode will matter only if the ratios, or the input and preprocessor resolutions are different. In control mode, you have 3 options. One is the balanced mode, the other gives more importance to your prompt, and the last gives more prominence to ControlNet. We will play around with each one of them. So let's start with Open Pose. In Settings, if you go to Stable Diffusion, you will find the clip settings. Some of the models I showcased in this video require the setting to be at 2 and some at 1. For the Batman demo, I am using a checkpoint called Western Animation. All the checkpoints, LoRa, upscalers, etc. I use throughout the video is freely available on Civit AI or Hugging Face. Let's start by putting the positive and negative prompts. Steps around 50. Height should be 768. Copying and pasting the seed. Before I hit generate, let me tell you I am using a LoRa model called Jim Lee Offset with this checkpoint. So, this is a non-upscaled, simple Batman animation style cartoon artwork. Let's go ahead and use ControlNet and try to change its pose. Expand ControlNet. I have already generated and edited some AI images for this video. Let's choose Pose 3. Throughout the video, I will be using Pixel Perfect and Allow Preview options enabled. The images used for ControlNet are in the same ratio as those generated in Stable Diffusion. It's advisable always to keep the same ratio. In Control Type, I am selecting Open Pose. I just want the direction of the Batman to be similar to the image. However, I don't want face detection. So here I will select Open Pose. Later, I will explain what the other Open Pose functions do with examples. We then hit the explosion icon to run the preprocessor to check out the ControlNet preview. Here, you can see it has correctly detected the angle with no hands or face, just the body and neck. We'll keep the control mode balanced. Resize mode to crop and resize. So, we have exactly what we need. Let's compare this to the original. You can see the original image on the left and the ControlNet image on the right. And if we superimpose the ControlNet image, you can see how this worked. Let's take another example and choose Pose 2 this time. The pose is almost similar, but the angle of the face is a bit different. Same settings. Perfect, let's compare. The image on the right is the one we just created. You can see that the posture is slightly changed. You can make very minute and accurate changes using ControlNet with Open Pose. Let's return to Stable Diffusion and see if we can make Batman in another posture and make a fist. Trying Pose 4. Let's do one last one with the plain open pose for Batman and then compare the two new images. For this one, I just wanted Batman to raise his hand and make a fist. Hence, I did not choose Open Pose Hand. Because if we choose that, then ControlNet would map the fingers, and I don't want that. I will show you how that works in the following images. Excellent, let's compare both images. The one with the Batman's fist looks cool. Let's superimpose the ControlNet mapping. So playing around with ControlNet can give you accurate results. It's fun and a very powerful tool. Moving on to a 3D anime character with some complex open pose positions and the Canny model. I am using a checkpoint model called Rev Animated for this next batch of images. It's a fantastic model, and you should check it out in Civit AI. Also, to get these 3D anime, I am using a LoRa called 3D-MM. I am keeping the sampling steps at 30 and the same resolution format as last time. I am using a custom upscaler called 4x Ultra Sharp for a high-res fix. I suggest you try this upscaler. I am pleased with the results it produces. Let's generate the base image. Awesome! Now I will show you the OpenPose hand function in ControlNet. I generated a new AI image with a female in the waving by posture. Here I want to tell you for ControlNet to map the fingers correctly, the base model you used to train ControlNet matters. The image I used for Batman was not good enough for this one. So I had to generate a new one and find the best one that suited my needs. So when using ControlNet, keep this in mind. When you choose OpenPose Hand, check how accurately it has mapped the hand. I don't want the face to be imposed, only the hand and the posture. Let's try this on our 3D anime girl and see the results. Perfecto! Let's compare. This has done the job perfectly. Look at the hands and the fingers. What was happening with the previous hand image was the fingers were getting deformed. It was like, after 100 generations, one was perfect, but other images with the same seed had issues. I wanted to use the same character and the same seed and make different poses. So the solution I found was simple: change the base image to a better one, and then I added gloves to the prompt and removed fingerless gloves, which solved the problem. And the result was perfect fingers. Now I want to make the character sit on any surface with the hands on the side. So for this, I am again only selecting an open pose without using an open pose hand, and I will tell you why in just a bit. Let's generate the images first. Here, I am changing the prompt and adding sitting on a luxury bed in house at night. Lovely, let's generate one more and change the scene, then we compare. Changed it to sitting on a big rock at the top of a snowy mountain. Now here we have the same pose with two different scenes. Since we did not map her fingers in ControlNet, the prompt automatically adjusted her left hand fingers. Looking closely, even her right hand fingers are slightly changed and adjusted on the rock scene. This is one example where you would choose not to use an open pose hand and just stick to an open pose. Here I am showcasing an example of an open pose full. Open pose full detects the face, body posture, and fingers. The face does not apply to the anime character as the setting was on balance, but I did want the fingers to be mapped. Let's generate and check out the image. You can see the left hand in the original image was hidden. Because of this, ControlNet could only map the right hand fingers from the base image. So her right hand fingers and the entire body posture are precisely as intended. Let's do one more thing with this character. I will show you how to change her clothing. Let's select this model, and I designed her clothing via Midjourney while making a video about AI in fashion. If you want to learn about that, you can check out the video from the channel. I will now use Canny here. You can see how Canny works. It has sketched the character outline and her clothing without going into the detailed mapping of her hands and legs. It has also sketched a part of the environment. Using the same prompt, let's see the results. Canny only sketches the outlines and ControlNet maps that. I found it works best to have the clothing replaced in a model character. However, there are other uses of Canny as well. Just experiment with it on animals and different styles of art, and you will get the hang of it as to when to use Canny. Let's compare and overlay the ControlNet mapping. It has perfectly modeled the character with its clothing design as per the base image. You can play around further and change the hair color, gloves, etc. Canny is a powerful tool in this example and cases where you would want to change the clothing style. For the following demo, I am using the Dream Shaper checkpoint. What I am going to do here is generate a castle on a vast landscape and via ControlNet, change the mountains to a specific range of mountains that I want using line art and soft edge. With this castle example, you will also see where and when to use control mode in ControlNet. We will have a wide aspect ratio for this image so that the resolution would be 768 by 512. Beautiful castle. This landscape image is also AI generated. I will generate a new image with the snowy mountains and the castle. The castle won't be the same, though. I am using the default line art and running the preprocessor. Here you can see the line art has sketched up a landscape. Now I will push this mapping to the image generation using ControlNet and see what happens. I want the castle in this landscape. The most important thing I want is the mountain range. The path in the center and other landscape features are unimportant to me. The image by itself is good, but it's a complete mess and not what I actually want. I want the castle to be more dominant in the image. This is an excellent example to show you when to use the control mode. Till now, I have been using balance. Let's try changing the control mode to my prompt is more important and see the result. This is precisely what I wanted. Let's generate one more image using the same setting, but instead of line art, let's try soft edge, and then we will compare both images and overlay the ControlNet mapping. The soft edge gets the mountains right, but leaves out a lot of details in the landscape. Actually, the whole landscape will change. Nice. Let's compare. This is the original image generated. This one is with line art in balance mode. If I overlay the image, you can see the landscape is very accurate. Let's check out the same image with more importance to the prompt than ControlNet. And now we have our castle. The landscape is almost accurate, precisely what I was going for. I just wanted the mountain ranges. Also, pay attention to the detailed ruined bridges between the castle on the left and right. Let me overlay the ControlNet image, and you can check out the AI has done an excellent job on the image. However, when I change the control mode to my prompt is more important, you can see a slight difference in the mountain ranges, and the overlay is not precisely matching like in the balance mode. Although I personally find the line art more aesthetically pleasing, the soft edge is more accurate with the mountain ranges. It is basically a matter of personal preference. Both do an excellent job, though. Next, let's look at MSLD and how it can be helpful for architectural prompts. For this demo, I am using a checkpoint called deliberate, and I will put a straightforward prompt. A modern living room, teak wood, and leather decor. Just changing the settings a bit, and we'll generate an image. Now I will select a living room design of my own. Then, using MSLD via control type, I can map the room's layout and generate the same room architecture with my prompt. MSLD is good for finding straight lines and edges. The value threshold is the value at which something will be considered a line. A low setting will result in more lines generated. About the MSLD distance threshold, it's something like the camera's focal length. It sets the minimal distance between the observed data points. A higher setting should reduce the number of lines generated, whereas a lower setting would generate more lines. For my image, I need maximum lines and details as possible, so I am going in with a lower setting. This is the original image that the simple prompt generated. And using my image and MSLD, running the preprocessor, we got these mapped lines via ControlNet. And using that, I could generate the following image with teak wood and leather design. So MSLD is a fantastic tool that is handy for architectural design. For the last demo, I am using Rev Animated Checkpoint again. I will be using a simple prompt again here. Bird flying, Mount Fiji. The prompt generated a nice simple image. I want to add two birds here, one on the left and one on the right, using the same prompt. So I would be using multi-mode in ControlNet. I will be honest here. This process is not as straightforward as the other methods I have shown so far. For this, I need the birds in a specific location within the generated image. I won't be changing the prompt. But I had to do some editing in Photoshop and have two images of birds, one on the left and one on the right. These images are AI generated only, but I had to crop, use a bunch of tools, and ensure that the birds are precisely where I want them in the image, including their size and keeping the same aspect ratio I am using for generating the prompt image. How do we do this? When you expand ControlNet, you can see I got ControlNet Unit 0, 1, and 2. You can have as many as you want depending on the hardware, and this can be changed by going into Settings, ControlNet, Multi-Mode. By default, I had 3 on, but here I am only going to use and enable 2. For both images, I am going to use line art. Okay, something went wrong, and the images are entirely messed up. In control mode, let's first try by selecting ControlNet is more important. Maybe it gives priority to the two birds in the way I want. And take note I am doing this for both images. You can have different settings for each image. Okay, this is better. You can see that the right wing of the bird on the right is not proper, and even one leg is missing. This is because the method I used, line art, was not definitive enough in mapping a proper outline. Now that can be fixed by either choosing another control type or simply changing to a clearer bird image, probably a vector that can be drawn by ControlNet clearly. But there is another problem here, no Mount Fiji, which was in my original prompt. And I want Mount Fiji in the image. So after trying a few things, what I am finally doing is changing the control mode to my prompt is more important for both images. And wow! The result is fantastic. Absolutely perfect, and I got my Mount Fiji, not 1 but 3 in the background. Let's enlarge the image and overlay both ControlNet images to see exactly what happened. So this is the final image that we got. Let's overlay the first ControlNet image. The bird's posture is not exactly a match for this one, but the position and size are accurate. This is probably because of the prompt getting more weightage. Let's overlap the second image. This one is the same. Overlapping both images. Stable Diffusion is powerful as it is with all the LoRa, checkpoints, wildcards, etc. Adding ControlNet on top of this gives you specific controls, which, to be honest, are missing in all of its competition. ControlNet is vast, and the more you play with it, the more you learn. I showcased just 5 examples, and it took me a lot of time to understand each setting along with the control type models. Believe me, I tried my best to keep this as short as possible and explain just the basics. Whatever I showed in the video is just the tip of the iceberg. I hope you learned something from it, and as always, until next time.
If you have watched till here, thanks. Please like and subscribe, and hit the bell notification to receive a notification as soon as we upload a new video.